is Forex going to be the thing that pays the bills? Well, that's why you have to have a bunch of EAs. That's why, to me, when I meet people like, oh, I have one EA, I'm like, one EA? How does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, I have 60 because all of them do something different. And some EAs just send information. That's all they do is just informational. They don't take trades. They'll be like,
right,
expert advisor.
Traders, welcome back to Simply Forex and the Sit on Your Hands podcast, the show where expert traders share their insights, knowledge, experiences, and strategies. And if you stay to the end of the show, guys, we're going to take a good look at everything EA robot trading, because our guest today, Andre from Andre McClendon YouTube channel, has over 15 years of trading experience. And as I say, is an expert in EA trading. So, Andre, welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing?
Yeah, all good. Thanks, Andre. And you're calling from Vegas, is that right?
Yes, North Las Vegas.
Okay, all right, nice. And I was saying to you earlier, I always imagine people that live in Vegas, you know, go to the Strip every other day, but not at all.
No. Maybe Fremont Street from time to time, but no. Not normally.
No, okay. You were saying the last time you went there was like 10 years or something.
I barely go. Maybe to a restaurant like the Paris Tower, and that's about it.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, welcome from Vegas anyway. So, Andre, yeah, we're you know, with the Sit on Your Hands podcast, we just want to find out a bit about you as a trader, what makes you tick, your journey as a trader, where it all began, where you are now, and everything in between, and and just share some of your tips and advice that you've sort of found along the way that helped you in your trading journey.
Okay.
Yeah. So I guess we should start by making everyone aware that you trade only EAs at the moment. Nothing but. When
it comes to my, you look at the entire portfolio. When it comes to just Forex is done nearly 100% just by expert advisors.
Okay. And was that always the case for you? Did you start off manually trading Forex and then, your experiences led you into EAs, or was it EAs you went straight into?
So when I first started hearing about Forex, I was in the Air Force. One of my friends told me about it, didn't know anything about it. I tried manually testing on Oanda, and I was just, testing things out to see how it works. And then like about 2 months into it, I started moving directly to automation because I have a background in it already.
Okay. And in the Air Force, was that your kind of job that you had in the Air Force, dealing with automation and, having things very mechanical based?
I had a couple careers in the Air Force, and some with dealing with data analysis. So it was a kind of a segue into it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. And what constitutes a good EA? I know, obviously, results. But you say you have I've had hundreds of EAs. What constitutes a good one over perhaps another one?
So I'll say here's a bad one. A bad EA would be one that doesn't learn from its mistakes. And making the mistake protocol is pretty easy. So for example, just say you see like a candle pattern like 3 white soldiers, right? So we're talking about 3 candles, pretty much flat on the top and the bottom, built up. So if you see this pattern, you say, okay, I'm going to enter on market buy with your expert advisor and just say it does that 10 times in a row. It takes 9 losses, 1 win, right? Just say overall the P&L is negative. So a smart robot would see that chart pattern and be like this, okay, every single time I've entered in the past, 90% of the time I failed. Let me do a buy limit at that point at just say 50%, or, just if you did like a Fibonacci and did like 50 or 60% down, I'll enter here instead of entering here.
Okay.
That would be like an example of that.
Okay. And is that AI? Is that AI needed to make that robot that smart, or is that you manually changing the EA?
No, it's actually pretty easy. Like you can program just say an if statement. So if I've had 10 losing trades or 9 losing trades or 5 losing trades in a row, you do like a trade counter. And if the trade counter tacks up to 5 losing trades or 10, whatever the amount would be, just say X. And if X is greater than this amount, it'll go to this pattern here. So the failing went now new probabilities. And it'll go to, if I see 3 white soldiers happen, now I'm going to do buy limits. and a buy stop, for example.
Okay.
To say if you gridded out your trade.
Okay. And you program that into the EA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's different personalities with each one. Some are very aggressive. Some are very. It's kind of like if you see like USD JPY, or I'm sorry, not USD, let's go with pound yen. Pound is is absolutely my favorite one. I don't need to trade that with aggressiveness, because if you've been trading it for years, all you need to do is what? Stair step it or grid it, trade that out. It's basically one direction the last like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Okay. And because people think, oh, I've got this strategy, I'm going to create a robot. How easy is it to create a robot? And what sort of background do you have? Do you have a coding background? A background in computers? What advice would you give people who have this great strategy that is very mechanical and they want to program it?
So first off, you need to learn. Obviously, the best place to learn is YouTube. You can learn how to program for free. You don't have to pay anything for it. Once you learn how to program, the issue would be biasness. And biasness in programming is one of the hardest things to filter out. So, for example, just say you have a trend, easy trend. So 3 months, we look at the monthly or the daily, we see just a perfect trend up. You don't need much of a strategy in that. You just say, hey, if I buy here, no matter what, in 2 months I'll be profitable. But where the biasness kicks in is that, like, if I always have this trading robot do X, Y, and Z every single time in the buying direction, when it has choppy markets, to say you have a correction, the robot loses money. It's not intelligent enough to understand what's happening. So you need to get out of trend. So that's why, to me, I don't make trend trading robots typically, unless I know there's a trend. Just say it's kind of like remember when crude oil went negative?
Yes.
Crude oil going negative was a very easy trend because there's only one way it can go.
Yeah, just buy it. Just buy it. Yeah.
So I use a robot called Fire Falcon just for that. Fire Falcon only grid buys. That's all it does. Plans out a bunch of buy stops, buy limits, right? And then if there's a correction happening, it'll just buy limit, buy limit, buy limit. It only does one direction. That's it. Yeah. Because I know the overall direction has to be up.
Okay. So in your experience, you would say robots that follow trend are not necessarily profitable, or just don't suit how you see the market?
I would say long as you know what the trend is, because there's different types of expert advisors. There's ones that are 100% automated. That's the majority that I have. And then there's ones that I turn on and turn off.
Yeah. Okay. And you explain you have sort of over 100 EAs, is that right?
I mean, maybe thousands.
Oh, really?
I mean, the majority of all of them fail. And this is how it is. Like, when I tell people, like, if you're creating an expert advisor, let's say you're going to create one today, the first thing you want to do is what? They say to jump it onto a demo account and then live account, right? So for me, I have a process for any EA to go to a live account. It has to be tested for almost a year before hitting a live account, like an actual healthy size account.
Yeah. Okay. And, the thing, because I'm obviously, I don't use EAs and I'm a very price action orientated trader. I like to think I can decipher trend. I can decipher support and resistance levels. I can see candlesticks better than a computer, and I can trade accordingly. So why is an EA, a robot? Why do I need one? Why is it better than me in terms of trading?
So just say you're looking at what pattern? Let's say we're looking at a doji, right? So there's to me, there's an actual textbook definition that I've created in programming. So do most people look for when people look at a doji, or actually better yet, was making a hammer. Okay? So a hammer is very identifiable, right? Small body, long wick, either going up or down, right?
Yeah.
Either inverted hammer or actual hammer. Then you have a red hammer or a green hammer, depending on the open and close. Okay.
Yeah.
So most people, when they see a hammer, they're like, "Oh, this is going to be a good buying point, right?"
Yeah.
Or whatever it ends up happening.
Yeah.
To me, I have actual definition. So on the 5 minute, just say we're looking at USD/JPY, right? USD/JPY. If there's a hammer that builds up, and it's like a 5-body pip hammer, and the wick is, to say, 3 times that, so you're looking at 15 pips to 20 pips. Is that enough of a hammer on the 5 minute to enter on a scalp, for example? So for me, I have definitions for each type of candle pattern, for each time frame and each currency pair, because they're all, and a lot of people don't have a database for that. And then what I also do, what people, I wish most programs did this. With all your things that you keep, put it onto, like, for example, Google Sheets, and build a database off that. So when you're trading, you have an actual full database pulling information to see if that's the most highest probability of trading.
Sure. And that helps me understand why you have had thousands of EAs, right? It's just that slight individual change in the coding, and it's a different EA almost.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And, you've created these EAs, some work, some don't. How do you determine what works and what doesn't? Is it thorough back testing or real life trading, or or demo trading? How do you quantify what is a good EA and what isn't?
So I would say, so when it comes to an EA, when you're creating one, let's just call it, what's a funny name? Make it interesting. Let's call it, I don't know, what's what I'm, boxing bag. Okay. You got this boxing bag EA. I actually got a boxing bag over there.
I can see you looking for things to actually call. Yeah.
All my EAs have a special name, so I can memorize them, because it's very difficult to keep up with so many happening. And that's why I have a chart that actually measures all of them all at once to tell me what's happening. So when you have boxing bag's created, and just say it does, I don't know, let's make it fun. It scalps. It's a scalping EA. Okay. This scalping EA, the first thing you do once you program it, it goes on a demo account. It goes into a demo account that's live, that's running 24 hours, right? You run that for about 2 to 3 months just to see, because what ends up happening is that when you're looking at like back data, when you're when you go on MetaTrader, you're doing you're doing the strategy tester. The strategy tester, you can basically modify it. That's where the biasness comes in. I know, because this is why one thing I hate about traders when they'll do like, this has always worked in the past, but do it live, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So that's the problem with expert advisors. People run it in the past and be like, oh, it has 100% win rate or some insanity about that. But I'll run it on the past, and I don't care if it makes profit or loss. As I tell people, I do not care if it makes any money in the past, because it doesn't mean anything. I just
so back testing is you don't back test it, basically. You're not interested. You're just interested in running it in a live demo environment.
I run it back testing to make sure it has no errors.
Right.
So and an error is something like this. Just say you have an infinity glitch. So basically it enters orders in constantly and it doesn't stop. That's like an infinity glitch. And then it shuts down the trader or burns the account. It happens years ago, but now I don't have that issue anymore. But when you're programming that type of stuff, you want to make sure that it runs smoothly, right? Because you want to do with fixed spreads. You want to try with outrageous spreads. You want to actually input things in there. So let's say hypothetically we're trading NAS 100 or US 30, and the spread goes up to 50 pips. Yeah. Do you really want to have your EA enter at a 50 pip spread? Unless your EA is smart enough. For me, what I usually do, if that happens to our scalping robot, it just cuts trading.
Okay. So you can code it not to enter a trade when there's such large spreads.
Yeah, you can make it do literally anything. Like you can make it trade you can use time entries. You can once it passes the first phase, let's say it's like a month or so, 3 months, then it goes into the demo account. That's like a $200 demo account, and then it runs. And then if it passes, like by pass doesn't mean profit. It just means it has no errors. There's nothing that it comes up. And then there's these are called functions. I have different functions that are in every EA. They're just the bases of the body. And the body will send me information. It's like, hey, Andre. And literally I get that message saying, hey, Andre, this trade took 50 trades. You're a scalping robot. And the scalping robot took 50 trades and all were losses. It'll tell me why it lost, how it can be better. It's not like I'm not good enough yet to program it as an AI. I'm still studying that right now. But I can build. I have so much previous data on why things lose money that it would just tell me why.
Okay, interesting. And then what qualifies it for you to start using it? So you've just checked it for errors. You've been running it for a month to 3 months. It's got no errors. It's running. It's functioning as it should. But what makes it, being used by you with real money? Right? Is it purely profitability? Is it the amount of drawdown it gets you into? What factors are you considering to keep that EA?
So for the scalping robot, just so we don't jump around with other EAs. So scalping robot, the drawdown has to be extremely minimal.
Yes.
Very, very minimal. And we're talking about at least 2 entries. So I would have to actually show my screen. But basically, when we talk about how I scalp, I do not scalp. How do I say it? When I see scalpers, the issue that I see with scalping is that they cut their upside too much. So for example, if you're scalping and you're buying a scalp and you do a 10 pip target profit, right? What would happen if that trade goes up to 100 pips, hypothetically speaking?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you took 10 pips, but you could have had 90 or 100. So what ends up happening is this: when I do most of my scalping robots, even the ones that I have that are currently trading, what they'll do is this: they'll have 2 positions primarily, or a third, but two open positions. One. So here's their orders. What they'll do is have the target profit here. Once the target profit gets hit, it moves the stop loss automatically to break even. Okay. One trade's gone. Now the other one has a break even stop loss, or like 2 pips in profit. If it shakes out. And then the other one's like 100 pips out. Okay. Now, what ends up happening if you make a robot intelligent enough, EA intelligent enough, the stop loss will follow the current market price. Not like, baby it, but just say you give you a buffer at 15 pips. So as it keeps on increasing, you'll see the 100 pip, and then it'll have the 15 pips. What ends up happening is that it will delete the take profit because you don't need it anymore. No. You're capping your upside. And then it will just keep following it to a point where, like, a good example, just say the MACD. The MACD, I don't like to use it for entering trades. I like using the MACD to exit trades.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, and would you say that's a theme? We've just been speaking about a scalping EA there, and the idea behind it is basically cutting losers very quick and letting winners run. I mean, that's the old adage of trading, right? You pick up any book, right, or any trader that's had some success, they will say, cut your losers quick, let your winners run. Is that the basis for all of your EAs, pretty much?
Except for one. There's one EA that intentionally wants it drawdown. And I'll give you an example. It's called a swap trader robot. So basically, it gives me all the currency pairs out there that have a positive swap. Okay? So this swap fee, it does not matter the direction. So I'll give you an example. Let me bring something up. So I know pound yen has a positive swap, right? So the current swap on pound yen is, give me a second, on my broker. Let's go specifications. So here.
Yeah, and so just while Andre sorts this out, guys, if you're enjoying what Andre has to say, then please check out his links below. Check out his YouTube and other social medias. And also, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, smash the notification button, and please smash the like button, guys.
So to put it simply as this swap, I don't do this for all robots, just this one. It's called the swap trader robot. And I'm not going to get in too much detail, but basically what it does is this. If you have a positive swap, it will enter in a very distinct position. And it will run that position without a target profit and without a stop loss. And it'll stagger.
Just benefiting from swap, basically. Right. Yeah.
Now, there is some danger, and there also is account minimums. You can't do this with a small account, at all. Like if you're doing like a 0.1 lot size and you're trying to make money off the off swap, you're gonna have to have a very big account to manage the swings.
Yes. Yeah.
And if you do this properly with all currency pairs, you can. It's kind of like a dividend. It's almost like making dividend income.
It's like arbitrage, isn't it? It's that. Yeah.
I have calculations on there. Like this is one of my heavier robots. We're talking about nearly 4,000 to 5,000 lines of code that just analyzes swap entries, and it enters only off of the weekly bars. It only it does not do 4 hour, 1 hour, only weekly bars. That's it.
Okay. And you code all of these robots yourself,
Correct.
Andre? Yeah. Okay.
I would never in my life. Actually, the only indicator that I use that is pre-coded is the ATR. Every other indicator I don't use. I don't.
Oh, really?
I tell people there's no. They're coded so incorrectly, and to me they're so delayed. It's like I tell people like the MACD. The MACD is probably the best example of something that I could use, but only to exit trades. It's beautiful exiting trades. It's slow enough to understand what's happening. Like you have the histogram, you have your moving average you can add in there. And then you're like, okay, to me, if you look at the MACD, look at it on 3 different time frames. So just say you're trading the daily and you want to exit a trade, look at the 4 hour, 1 hour, 30 minute, whatever. And you can exit a trade near the top 80%. Or sorry, top 20% of a trade. or remove. And I like that type of stuff. But for me, I modified the MACD to a point where it's smart, if that makes sense.
You must be constantly coding, Andre.
Yeah, most of my day for my software company, most of my days is just programming. Either programming, I mean, outside my YouTube channel is just exposing and doing videos about trading and stuff. But typically that's why I have two channels. I have my main channel where I have, Andre McClendon, and my other channel where I teach programming.
Okay, all right, interesting. And because I normally ask, what does a typical day for you look like as a trader? Now, being an EA trader and being a price action trader like myself, our days are going to look very different. So could you give us a little insight into, how your day starts, what you do, your routine, Andre, as a trader, as an EA trader?
As an EA trader, just say I'm creating a new just say I'm creating something new. And I do this quite often. I love creating new EAs to beat and replace my old EAs. Okay.
Right. And why do you want to replace your old EAs?
Oh, to make them smarter.
Okay. All right. Just keep making it smarter and smarter.
If you can get an EA that can learn, just say you have AI, but your AI is at a elementary level, and just say me and you were at a college level, right? Or we're playing college football. An elementary student is going to get destroyed playing college football, right? Yeah. So most of my EAs, when I first began, were very simple, very non-complex. Now they're at like a high school, sometimes college level, where they can understand what's happening and send me information. I get all my information from my cell phone. Like I'll get flat out text messages saying, "Hey, Andre," and then literally I get that, "Hey, Andre, this is happening." Blah 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 blah. I'm like, "Oh, okay, turn off." And I just send a message saying, "Robot, turn off."
Yeah. Okay. And so like you say, you've had thousands of EAs. You're constantly improving your current EAs to make them smarter and smarter. So your day pretty much is as a coder, not so much a trader, really. You're just constantly coding.
Yeah, outside of that, I mean, I put Forex into a portfolio. Like, I tell people, I find kind of interesting. When I meet other traders, they don't have a portfolio of incomes. I prefer a portfolio of incomes than relying on Forex. Because to me, like it's easier to understand, like, if you have a portfolio of $100 or $1,000, for example, you have 15% in Forex, 15% in dividend stocks, and then you have growth stocks. And then that to me is more balanced of an income than it is just strictly relying on Forex. Because I tell people, being profitable per year, just say you have an average year of 10 to 15% per year, right? Is Forex going to be the thing that pays the bills? Well, that's why you have to have a bunch of EAs. That's why, to me, when I meet people I have one EA, I'm like, one EA? How does that make sense? I have 60 because all of them do something different. And some EAs just send information. That's all they do is just informational. They don't take trades. They'll be like, expert advisor, they'll send everything to Google Sheets. And then everything from Google Sheets will fill out saying, hey, here's the biasness that's happening. Here's the market data that's happening. Here's the news that's happening. And programming news, I use FX Choice. Forex Factory. Forex Factory, I just grab all the news and then be like, okay, here's the spread during this time. So when you see stuff like, just say the Fed.
Okay, so you're programming the Fed interest rate decision. You're telling your EA that is coming out at 4 p.m. on Thursday, and your EA is ready for that and the spread.
Yeah, and if the spread goes crazy, it just stop trading. Literally, it'd be it'll change the screen from so I use black and white, and it'll just change the screen red. So if I ever scroll through my screen, I'm like, why is that red? I'm like, oh, okay, it's on pause mode.
Yeah. All right, and then so you've got these 60, EAs running or so, as a ballpark figure. Like you said, you've got one that takes care of swap fees. You've got one that runs like that. You've got a scalping one. You probably have perhaps a short to medium term EA, right? You've got all these EAs for different permutations of the market. Again, and you're making them smarter and smarter all the time. But how do they perform, right? What constitutes a good EA? Do you have 20 of those EAs make 10% each for the year? You've got 5 EAs that are minus 6%. You've got 2 that are break even. How do you manage all those different EAs and the overall portfolio? What does it look like?
So an average is 10, 15% per year I was talking about before, because a lot of the EAs that I wish people understand, not every EA makes money. some lose.
Yeah.
And some of the EAs like, okay, for example, Fire Falcon, it's only a buying expert advisor. If a short market enters and it gets caught, it will just take loss after loss after loss and after loss. And then I'm like, okay, it has a streak of 10 losses. It'll just turn off. And then that's it. It won't. So if you're looking at what's a currency pair that's been going down for like months, let me see. Let me check on here. Okay, here. Let's look at so euro dollar. Euro dollar is not blossoming or booming. It's kind of like flat and stuff. It would probably get eaten up, and that would mean out of the to say we're right now we're in Q1. So Q1 it takes an F. It fails, all red, right? Yeah. That means from Q1 until it fixes the market and there's a headmaster. The headmaster will communicate that to it. If it doesn't say entering, so out of the 60 robots, one is dead. It won't be run for an entire year until it gets.
Okay, I understand. Yeah, and then and then how many of your EAs will become dead throughout the year? For example,
all the time.
Yeah. Okay. So if you start the year with 60 EAs, what do you end up with typically?
At the end of the year, maybe like 22, 23.
Okay.
Actually.
All right. So that many drop. Okay.
Yeah,
and that's just the conditions are not right for them anymore.
Yeah, because some of them trade like I told you there's chart patterns, right? Chart patterns to me are very easy to program. Like we mentioned before, 3 white soldiers. I think that's one of the most easiest things to program. Like it takes a few seconds. Or you have like dojis are easy to program. And then just say you're hypothetically speaking, if you're only trading Hammurabi's code, right? You're only programming that chart pattern and you're only entering it. If you don't get those that pattern, it won't trade at all. Or one of my favorite EA, like one of my favorite, is called the gap trader. Like I love gaps so much that it is you're talking about nearly. It is almost impossible for a gap not to be filled in for it on certain time frames and certain currency pairs. It is like 100%. It almost always fills.
Yes, it's a strategy all on its own. I agree. Yeah.
I have an indicator that literally goes through years of data showing you perfect entries and exits for every type of gap on certain currency pairs. It's actually called the gap trader. That's all it does.
Cunningly named.
I absolutely love that. And like that one, I don't think it's like I've made it back when I was in the Air Force. So we're talking about like that one has never turned off. It doesn't make it a great deal of money because some of these gaps are like 10 to 15 pips. It doesn't leverage hard. And that's one thing I wish most traders don't get into, leveraging very hard. We're talking about like, for me, I don't like to leverage hard. I like to stack in my entries. I love stacking. So if you have a 100 pip move, there's 5 entries, all with their stop loss in profit, or I'm sorry, their stop locked into the trade.
Yeah. Okay. And you've got all these EAs. You were saying typically to keep one of those EAs running, and for it to be constituted a good EA for you would be 10 to 15% per year, right? Now you're going to have EAs that perhaps hit 30%, perhaps EAs hit minus 20%. Is that realistic, or you won't let them get to minus 20% or plus 30% because of the parameters on them?
Actually, I'll bring in some charts real quick to show you guys. Give me a second. I'll actually show you some of the back data for it. It's a lot easier seeing it.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Trading. Give me a second. Where's Forex?
Because I know a lot of our viewers, Andre, we get inundated. We're like, right, we want to try and program an EA, or we like the idea of EA trading, right? It takes a lot away, the psychology away from trading. People like the idea of EAs, and the usage of EAs must be at all-time highs, I imagine. So it's a really interesting subject.
Especially with this whole thing about ChatGPT and stuff like that. I get a lot of people say, I use ChatGPT to program. I'm like, it is so much easier just to learn how to program. Like,
I love the way you say that, Andre.
You can learn a language in 3 months, 4 months.
Yes.
Here, I'll show you some fun ones. Okay, am I able to share my screen?
Yeah, if you just press, present down the bottom there.
Okay, so do window, entire screen. Window 2. I got 6 monitors, so I got to make sure I'm on the right page.
Okay, you're going to need 6 monitors with 60 EAs.
Yeah. You can't do it without a bunch of monitors. You'll get like melted, especially. So here, I'll bring up.
So your charts are here, Andre. Yeah, what are we looking at here exactly?
Oh, this is just a basic. There's nothing up right now. I turned off all my EA. I use my other MetaTrader that I just for this video.
Okay.
Because I don't share off any of my information like that. It's crazy. It's how you get melted. So here, for example, so here's an EA called Pinpoint Trader. So Pinpoint Trader, if you look at the data right here, right, it'll show you on what currency pair is this? On USD JPY, for the time frames that it has open, it'll do 200, 300 trades. And it did kind of average. So the question is, you're like, hey, Andre, this makes profit. You should use it. No, this is a biased trading, because if you looked at the market at the 116 trade, it was trending up. So the robot didn't have to do any simple or hard, I don't have to do simple calculations and just buy and hold. That's pretty much what it did from here to here. It was probably a correction in the market and just went up.
Yeah, because yen was so weak for so long.
Here's an example of like I think.
And what's wrong with that though, Andre? What's wrong with that robot catching that move? You know, it's obviously going to be highly profitable. Why don't you like that?
Because it's not learning from what's happening.
Right.
So for me, that's why like making profit is, I think everyone wants that. But for me, I like a robot that actually can learn. So instead of having 60 robots, I would love to have 4 or 5, and it does everything. Like think about using a robot or an EA that can trade any time frame at any time and do exactly what the market needs. Like that to me is why I start slowly combining some of the expert advisors into one. And once again, why I'm studying other languages at the same time. So like this, here's another example. See, this thing took 855 trades. It's about, right?
And what's the time frame of this? Took 853 trades in a year.
So the time frame's a 4 hour. It took it on from 2017 April 5th to 2021 the 10th October 1st.
So about 4 years.
This right here is what how I back test. I just make sure that it does see when you look at the equity is a green mark. If there's no spikes, I despise giant spikes because that's just like getting lucky. I'm not a fan of lucky charts.
No.
Here's Fire Falcon. Let's use Fire Falcon on pound yen on the 5 minute. Actually, I'm looking at the test data right now. Here, so look at this. Right? So this is mode 1, right? Mode 1 will only do staggered buys, and this is the old version, right? Old version. It just buys. So for example, guys, if you look at pound yen's been trending in one direction for many years. We have some correction happening, but to me, I don't care, because if you're still stacked down there since like 2022 or 2000, you don't care where the market's going. But like this, for example, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, go on, Andre. Carry on. Sorry.
So what ends up happening is that like the mode 1 is risk it all. Means that it's kind of like the martingale strategy without stop losses, right?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Highly lethal.
Yeah. Highly lethal unless you're wrong. So with this right here, it just does buys. Buy. Equity gets melted. Buy. It gets margin called, and then overall good. This is how most robots I see are on here. When you guys go to Marketplace, I'll give you a second. Have you guys been to Marketplace over here? Control T. So most of the robots that I see when people try to build or buy, they're all based off the martingale strategy, because they want to make their charts look as clean as possible. And to make it clean, look, if I just, for example, just say this. Let's zoom in right here. If I just showed you this right here, like, let me zoom in a little bit. Like, hey, just say I'm trying to sell you an expert advisor, and I only show you this right here.
Yes, I know what you mean. Yeah, you can be very you can be very picky with your data. Yes.
Yeah. This is why, once again, why I don't care about backtest data so much.
Yeah.
Because I can literally make any chart have no losses. Yes. I can literally program out and delete losses.
Yeah. Yes. You can make a chart look like this with every EA that you program.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
The live code is not the same. That's why for me, like when I look at EAs, I look at how do they behave and how much data can I get out of it. So if we're looking at let's look at Bitcoin. Bitcoin I was looking at earlier, right? And I don't know if you guys prefer bars or candlesticks. I don't care anymore. But like,
no, said like a true programmer.
Yeah,
Andre, I don't care what the chart looks like. I've just programmed.
So when you're looking at stuff like this, we should put some common things. And this is why I like using common indicators, because people understand what they are, like the MACD. The MACD to me is one of the easiest things to use. Yeah. You can use it to enter trades, but I prefer to exit trades. It's easier to exit trades, in my opinion. Like this right here. If you're taking this buy right here, when do I buy? Well, let's see. You see this little gap right here? This is a good indication to buy right here. And then you see this little crossover right here, you get melted down. People are like, oh, how do I exit? Well, you can exit off of a staggered approach. So when you see this body open up and close, then you move your stop loss to break even. This is a 4-hour chart. So you're holding a trade for like what, 16, 20 hours? And then once it gets up here, you get stopped out.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I get that, you know, because a lot of people will, you know, a lot of EAs are very basic, right? It will enter on a crossover of the MACD and it will exit on the crossover of the MACD. But as you explained, on the crossover, you would have got melted on the way down.
Yeah.
You know, if you haven't got that little bit more intelligence with the EA and it trailing that stop, it won't be a profitable EA.
Yeah, and then this is an issue like this. So this is a very easy example. This bullish movement right here, this is the hourly, okay? Hourly on Bitcoin. It really does not matter the expert advisor because most expert advisors are going to tag you in. Where's an arrow? Give me a second. Here we go. Most expert advisors. Where's the blue box? Chart tools, insert, channel shapes. So here's our trade, right? Here's our most EAs, and this rare movement will put you in somewhere around here, right? I mean, even a common trader, they'll see this. Oh wow, Bitcoin.
Structure break to the upside, uptrend.
And then boom, they'll exit somewhere around here, right?
Yeah.
This would be a common exit when the histogram and the moving average, they separate and they'll, okay, I'm going to exit here. Fantastic. Cool. Yeah. So a smart EA, and this is typically how I do it. A smart EA would be like, okay, we have 3 white soldiers right here. Huh, kind of interesting how that popped up right here. Kind of a little bit too much skin on the game on the edges, but cool. We'll enter right here. We'll enter on a buy limit, staggered buy limit, exit staggered out, entering off these black candles, and just keep doing it over and over again. Just multiple buy limits stacked out. Take it very aggressively. Yeah. But what else? For stop loss, you can use ATR. Oh my God. I don't like the ATR, but it's one of the easiest ways to use as a stop loss. So if you have an say you have a, I don't know, say you have a 0.1.
Yeah, just for people who don't know what ATR is, it's basically how much that chart will move over the last 14 candles or whatever. Yeah, how many pips it's moved, the average.
And with that pip average, you can say, okay, I'm going to do a 50 pip stop loss versus a 150 or 200 point take profit, whatever you like. Yeah. I mean, to me, when you start programming a lot, you don't even use take profits because the take profit will piss you off half the time because very rarely, and it does happen, and this is why my programming data will tell me don't use target profit. Because, for example, hypothetically, just say this right here. Just say you got lucky, and luck has to be, you have to program that in there. I'll explain why here. Let's see. Okay, here. Let's find something big candle. Let's find a really fat, sexy candle. Here, right here. Okay. So hypothetically, just say you buy off of this candle right here. Let's zoom in a little bit. All right, what's this? It's even here. You buy off this candle here, hypothetically, and you put 100 pip stop loss or target take profit, and it smashes and it keeps on going. That's why you don't want to take profit. When it comes to programming, automated trading, manual trading, use a stop loss and But when you're programming, you don't even need a stop loss because once the equity dips down or the trade dips down to say 15 pips in loss, it just cut the trade.
Yeah, and then the EA will just automatically cut the trade. So there is a stop loss of sorts, just not a normal stop loss that we would use as a manual trader.
And then once using the MACD, if you got lucky and you took this trade, you should not exit. Your first primary positions should not exit in this bar. Once the MACD starts to slow down, and then you're like, okay, the MACD is slowing down, then I can enter in off of this trade here. Yeah. I mean, it's very rare that outside of the scalping bots that it enters out, exits here. Yeah. And I understand. This is why, and this is another thing why I stopped doing the whole YouTube stuff with programming outside of my main channel, because the learning curve is excessively high. Like I've been programming since back in high school. I'm 36 now. Like the learning curve that most people like, when I say you can learn how to program in 3 months, technically it is true, but you're not going to be good
at your level. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, when you said that earlier on, I was thinking 3 months. Have you seen me with computers, Andre? I struggle turning them on. So it might take me a little bit longer. But no, so it's a really fascinating world and look into EA robots. And most people we speak to, they're like, yeah, I run 1, 2, or 3 EAs, but I think you hold the record, Andre, of running the most EAs in one hit.
If anybody says they've run 3 or 4 EAs, just ask them, did you program it yourself?
Yeah.
There's only like 2 or 3 YouTube channels that have actual weight in the game that do programming live. There's this guy named Bright. He's a guy from Canada. I've talked to him a couple times, and I told him the same thing. Like, most people say the same thing. They just want quick results. They want you to make you an EA. And I get these emails daily. Build me a robot. Build me an EA. And I'm like, no.
Yeah, build me an EA. I want 5% a month, please, Andre. Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why the EA game, selling an EA, I show people this. Like, this is why I don't sell robots. I don't give out my robots anymore. Like, none of that. Because selling a robot is where the money's at. It's kind of like courses. In the Forex manual world, selling a course is the same thing as people selling EAs. Because some of these EAs, I think they go up to like $50,000. Let's go.
Really?
Buy price ascending. Yes, go buy price ascending. Oh, I'm sorry, descending. Look, $30,000 for an EA, $30K, and there's people who buy these things, and
it's crazy.
I'm like, what? Okay, if an EA makes $30,000, one, you're not getting the code. You're just getting access to a license.
Yes, it's almost like a copy trading thing. They're just going to take the trades for you. You won't have access to the code. Yeah, no, it's a fascinating world of robots. I've dabbled in the past, and the problem I had with EAs is the amount of management they still took me. Right, a lot of people think EAs are you just sit and forget, away you go. Sip your cocktail by the beach. Right, but the robots that I was running took some serious management and my trading time. How much of your time, how much do you spend between just letting the robot rip and how much do you manage them?
That's a good question. I mean, the majority of the EAs I don't even look at. Like, I have 6 monitors, and if you saw my start screen, it's all MetaTrader 4, MetaTrader 5, MetaTrader 4, MetaTrader 5, right? Yeah. I don't even look at them. I don't look at them anymore unless I get a notification from my phone.
Okay.
Because
all right, so not a lot of management then at all.
Unless you get a message, and if you get a message, something. And this is why when I meet other traders who trade by EAs, they don't tell you about segregating them by multiple accounts and how much money, because I cap off how much money I give them. So, for example, Fire Falcon cannot have more than $5,000 live. Cannot, because there's some things happening. The swap trading robot is a minimum of 10K. There's like I have a bunch of trading accounts, so that's why I tell people in the States it's very hard to find brokers too. Because in America, finding a broker that allows expert advisors is pretty darn hard. So I have to use everything on VPNs, virtual private servers, and you're talking about a whole bunch of money that you're spending just for virtual private servers.
Yes. Yeah, and okay, so that's interesting. So I would assume you would have done a lot of management, but you don't. But then now and again you get a message, and what sort of thing do you need to do when you get that message? What is it telling you? Say, this has hit a certain level, or it's like an alert, get out of a trade. What kind of messages do you get from your EAs?
So let's look at the last one I got. The last one I got was on gold. So in my portfolio, I buy precious metal, and this is a rule. And so I tell people, you should have a portfolio. Don't rely on Forex. Portfolio.
Diversification, basically, yeah.
In my portfolio, there's rules. And the main rule in there is to allocate precious metal, physical precious metals. That's like one of the top rules inside there. Inside that rule, my expert advisor will send me emails or text messages saying, hey, Andre, make an order for APMEX. So I'll get an email. I'm like, okay, gold dipped down to X. I'll buy X I'll buy whatever amount the robots are making and send it to my USAA account. And then with USAA, I'll buy APMEX and I'll buy silver and gold, physical, not digital.
Yeah.
So those are notifications that I get. I mean, people use like TradingView for alerts. You can do that too. Yeah, but I started programming PineScript in December of this year. So this would be my 4th language that I learned.
Okay. All right. So pretty much know everything to do with coding, Andre. And just to sort of, go full circle, what if somebody wants to, because there's lots of people who offer EAs out there, right? I know you sort of said I'm stopped that, but there's a lot of people that offer EAs out there. What advice would you give to people who are firstly thinking about purchasing an EA to run themselves? Okay, I can tell by your face, don't do that. And secondly, what advice would you give people that want to build their own EA?
Here, give me an example. I have a couple books to bring them up. And with the expert advisor game, let me see, where's this book at? Programming. Give me a second. I'm at my bookshelf right now.
I like your pictures, Andre, the ball and the eagle.
Yeah, one's from the military, since ex-military or retired veteran, and the other one is from the markets.
Cool.
And then you got my Rubik's Cube collection, because I do Rubik's Cube.
Can you do those in record time?
Some
Yeah,
I can do in a few seconds. I usually do them when I'm waiting here. So I got 3 books. And when it comes, so primarily my YouTube channel, Andre McClendon, used to be just economic. I in my opinion, you do not need to learn how to trade. Just follow economics. Good example. Crude oil went negative. You do not need a bachelor's in if crude oil is
pure
negative,
common sense. Yeah.
It's one of my best trades. I tell people, like, why did you buy into crude oil? It's negative. It doesn't make sense.
I remember that vividly, that moving below zero. It was negative,
And I'm like, crude oil is the most used commodity in the world. Second to then it's silver, right? If silver went negative, I don't care I'll just buy it.
Yes, it's just getting filled. You know, so many people were trying to buy it.
Like, I was looking at the ETF market, and I looked at ETF market index, like every
just
ETF.
Anything.
Anything.
Buy.
Yeah, so it's like you're talking about a miracle trade, because obviously it was manufactured. This was no accident. You don't go negative on accident.
No. Yeah, you may never see that again.
Yeah, and especially if you get into some really good dividend stocks. And that's why I tell people I prefer. So when people talk about, like, hey, Andre, should I get into Forex? I prefer people get into dividend stocks first before Forex, because the probabilities. Go ahead.
Yeah. That's exactly how I got into the world of trading, just buying FTSE 100 dividend stocks, and then the interest grew from there, basically.
Like, index funds outperform most traders anyways. Why? And so when I tell people, like, Andre, why do you like index funds? Because it beats most of my robots at times. The S&P 500 has been booming for years.
Yes. Just buy the dip. It's easy.
Yeah, like it's not that complex, especially unless you're buying on margin. If you're buying on margin, that's the complexities happening. But you're buying in cash position. Come on now, like it doesn't get that hard. So here's a book right here. And if you guys see this book, this is called Japanese Candlesticks. You do not need to look. As a programmer, just find any book on technical analysis. Doesn't matter. Any thick book that has like 500 pages. Sit in that book and program every single pattern.
Yeah. I love the way you say that, like it's so easy. That would take me 300 years to program.
Once you start programming, this technical analysis, let's say it's 40% accuracy. Let's say 40%, if you want to be profitable, say 40% of the trades happen through technical analysis, and 40% happen through fundamental analysis. If you can program 40% of it entirely with tolerances of like 5 or 10% that you can manually change, then
let winners run and stop losers early. You know, that's an important part of that theory.
Like, we can bring up charts on just crude oil. Crude oil, you don't even need an EA. I don't know why. I get that. I remember when EA when crude oil went negative and people were asking for EA, it's like, why do you need an expert advisor? Just buy it once a month.
You don't need no robot to tell you that. No.
Like, I'm trying to find the book that I had. It's a programming book, but you can get it for free.
And you remember the name of it, Andre?
Yeah, it's called MQL4 for Beginners.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good book. I don't, like, for example, I don't sell anything. I don't sell mentorships. I don't sell anything. I am giving out a free signal. So one of my expert advisors, I'm going to give out for free in my Discord.
Okay.
So because I get this whole thing. People say, Andre, you call out other people as scammers. You're saying these guys are fake traders. What is the solution outside of not listening to them? I'm like, well, I'm going to give out a signal so you guys can use instead of, once again, I don't try to get monetized any other way outside of YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah.
People call
Yeah,
you.
well, you're only as good as calling a trade before it happens, right?
Mm,
You know, there's a lot of people out there who analyze the markets after the fact, right? You know, there's a lot of
mm.
fouled traders on CNN. They're like, "Oh, gold's been, gold's been super strong for weeks." You're like, "Right, you could have told me that weeks ago, right?"
Like,
It's all after the fact. Yeah, the only real people, is if you give a signal ahead of time, right? That's the only true measure.
what I forgot that guy's name. He's on the business channel, investing channel. He has an inverse. Oh my gosh, I forgot his name now. But when I see the news and they talk about something, if the news says something and it's not like an emergency, you're typically too late.
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and then I tell people like most of my portfolio is just commodity. Like I tell people like commodities is such an easy, understandable market. You don't even need to study so much into it.
Yeah, the whole reason for a board of a company is to increase stock price. Everyone's motivated to keep stocks going up, and the governments are motivated to keep economies pushing in the right direction. So it makes no sense to short stocks, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get special, like short Tesla, because Tesla's one of those fast moving things that even for me, I don't even mess with. It's too much risk.
Yeah. Yeah, Tesla's one volatile. I mean, Elon Musk doesn't help things, obviously, but yeah, that is super volatile.
And volatility is fine and all, but there are associated problems that come up. One, spreads.
Yeah.
You're going to get a nasty spread happening when there's a big violent move happening. And remember, the brokers make 5 incomes. I'm saying 5 incomes from 6 incomes from losing traders and 5 incomes from winning traders.
Yeah.
So
the moral of the story is become a broker.
Yeah. I actually exposed that too. This is the reason why a lot of these influencers, create prop firms and create these type of things, because the money is not in trading. The money is selling access to trading.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, brokers, crazy money.
Yeah,
and we was also saying earlier on, Jay, but before we even got onto our this conversation, is how just YouTube as a marketplace, like if I showed a picture of a gold-plated Lamborghini and said I made $3,000 in 3 seconds, I would have tens of thousands of views and a load more subscribers. But if you genuinely give good trading advice and try and educate and get the good foundations and basics of trading, people don't want to know. Like it takes so much longer.
Like I explained this to I had a live stream, I think like 2 weeks ago. I explained this to someone why I don't do this anymore. I'll give you here's the example. So I told him like this. If you look at the dollar, since 1913, the Federal Reserve has been enacted. The dollar has been losing nearly 99% of all its purchasing power. Okay, cool. So why, if you know that the dollar is losing purchasing, and this is the boring talk, but to people who follow economics, they're like this. Okay, the dollar's losing value. What do I do? Well, if you build a portfolio in buying index funds combined with precious metals, typically you're going to outperform inflation. And then people are like, why would I want to outperform inflation? That's your whole goal. Because if you're not beating inflation, you're always losing purchasing power. And then how do you measure purchasing power? Well, if an apple costs $1, for example, I had an apple in my hand, for example, had an apple cost $1, and inflation went up, 200, 300%. Now that same dollar can't buy an apple. You can buy a little fraction of it now.
Yes, you buy a pip.
Yeah,
exactly. And that is genuinely good fundamental trading advice. And then everyone's like, "Oh, Andre, I'm not interested in that. Just show me your Ferrari."
No, I mean, I'm investigating.
It's crazy.
Like I'm investigating this individual, which I haven't made a video about, but the individual made this claim. I'm under 18, near the tens, right? I'm under 18. I made $1 million my first year trading. I lost all the money. And now I have this special course that costs $4,000 to learn how I made $1 million and lost it all.
Yes, it smells a little bit fishy, I must say. Yeah.
Like I tell people, like I don't mind people sell courses. I have no problem with it. It's like selling is part of the business of your time. Do you value your time? Sell a course, cool. But be transparent and honest on that same path. Like Trader Nick.
Yeah.
I don't mind. Like Trader Nick's cool dude.
Yeah.
He sells. I don't even mind. I don't like that people say like, look at that Bugatti though.
Yes, I know. Yeah, and here's my calls for $8,000. That's how he's paid for the Bugatti, not the trading. Yeah,
and I understand that the mind of a new trader is, because if I tell people this, like I'm 36 now, I've been in the same investment since 2007. The same investment.
Yes.
People are like this. The Warren Buffett way of getting rich is what I prefer. Building a portfolio of incomes.
Yeah.
And don't rely on one. Yeah. Do not rely on one.
No, because one is gonna go plop, basically. Yeah, exactly. You've got to diversify. And and some really interesting points just about clickbait and YouTube. And because I constantly have a conversation with my editor and he's like, oh, do this or do that. And I'm like, it goes against the very principles of what we're trying to do. It's about education, helping traders, not look at me, look at my car, look at my house. It's everything that goes against the principles, right?
Because I tell people like this, like, I know as a YouTuber and YouTuber, we know the formula on how to grow. Like I can look at every single, like I have a list of all the people I'm supposed to expose. I have a list of them. I can emulate them, grow as fast as they do, sell my soul in the process.
Yeah. Shake hands with the devil.
Yeah, and just, I mean, you can make money, but I tell people like this, like the way you make money matters. Like as a trader, and we're both traders in the sense, like to me, I like it's kind of interesting to bring this up with people because everyone thinks that like I need a certain currency pair. Like no, all you need, in my opinion, if I tell people like if you need to to focus down, you need index funds, boom, and then precious metal or energy. Get into those three things, and you don't need day trading. You don't need swing trading because in a 20-year period, and I know that's a big number for people, but I'm 36.
Yeah.
So are you old too? Are you old?
I'm older. I'm 46, Andre. So but I couldn't agree more. A bit of a side point from day trading, but build passive income, properties, stocks, right? Like I say, I just invest in FTSE 100 dividend paying stocks, skim a bit of profit off when they're highly profitable, reinvest it when things drop a little bit, and just keep that process going. That's what I do with stocks, properties, and just create as much passive income as you can. And going back to your point, I wish I started it all earlier, right? The pot of money would be bigger now, but I don't think like that. But invest and think about passive income as early as you can.
And then a big thing I tell people, like this is that winning, that money mentality. People are like, I need to flip an account to $1 million. I'm like, okay, if I had an additional $1 million, just say I had $1 million right here, I wouldn't invest it. Just throw it into a couple of savings accounts, get like 3 to 4%, and then you can live the rest of your life with every basic need covered with zero risk.
Yeah. I can sit on that beach with my cocktail every day, Andre. I'll be quite happy.
Making 40 to 50,000 a year, and then people, it's not enough. I mean, I'm in conversations with people like, I'm trying to flip $100 to a couple thousand repeatedly, and this is where I think the issue comes into prop firms. People, how to say, prop firms are for people who are already profitable, not for beginner traders.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed. Yeah. So, and you do these things, not for money, but for freedom, right? That's my goal. I just want to, I don't want to have to do a 9 to 5 or whatever it is, or even spend that much time on doing vids or YouTube or I've got into trading and invested my money and what have you because of freedom, right? You're only on this planet for a short period of time, right? You don't want to be slogging away all day, every day till you're 65.
Yeah, I mean, some parts of it, like I love YouTube because now that I do YouTube differently, I do YouTube just for fun. Like YouTube is.
Me too. Yeah, exactly. I enjoy the community of it.
The other part of trading, like I like trading to always improve myself because I study and I'm telling you, like I read a lot of books on programming algorithms, learning new languages. this is the part that people don't want to do. Like, if you don't want to go into algorithmic programming, you're going to be expected to read a ton. Like,
yeah, I can imagine.
Like, just
that one book you showed me, Andre, I started sweating.
Like, there's so many programming books or just data stuff. Like, and then, I mean, this is why I also told people that this is a caveat. If you learn how to program and trading fails, go get a job making $50,000, $75,000 a year as a programmer.
Yes.
You will probably do. I mean, if you had $75,000 a year allocated to your 401k or to some Roth IRA, and then did everything else in dividend stocks, you'd probably be a millionaire in a 20-year period.
Yeah, you'll be retired very early. Yeah, you would.
People, if I said that if I was a Forex guru, oh, don't do that, guys. Click the link below.
Yeah, I made $50,000 in 5 seconds trading gold.
And then, like, another thing, like, when people say, like, what's your biggest trade? My best trade overall, and it's still hard to beat, I bought silver under $10. Silver is sitting at like 30 plus right now.
Yeah.
It took me years to dollar cost average in to get under $10 till when when it's blossoming. I hope it goes up to 50. Please.
And you're still in this trade, letting it run. Yeah.
It's not a. I mean, it's a trade, but it's non-margin. It's all cash positions. So I don't even care.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah. No, and fascinating, Andre. Really good to talk to you. Really nice insight into the world of EAs and what it takes to create something that will perform in the markets, and how you manage them all, and how you trade them, and also great insight into the just YouTube in general, and trading and economics. And we really enjoyed talking to you, Andre. We'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, no problem, man. No problem. If you can jump on mine, we can have a back and forth.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, definitely, Andre. Yeah, invite me on. I'll be on, mate. No problem. We could definitely have a chat. And guys, if you've enjoyed what Andre's had to say, please go check out his links below and see all of his stuff, guys. All right. So, Andre, thank you very much for your time, my friend. And I'll see you again soon for another chat.
Cool. Peace.
Peace.